Then a status on, if many of you all will recollect, we had taken this decision on the casinos, online gaming, and horse race. And at that time, we said after the notification and after its implementation, 6 months after that, we will come up with a status. So even that status on online gaming and casinos was also presented to the council. I just want to give you one nugget from that online and casino-based status which was submitted to the council. The revenue from online gaming has increased by 412%. That is, it has reached 6,909 crores. Just for 6 months, I'm giving you the figure. This amount, 6,909 crore, is earned in a period of 6 months. I'll give you the date. From 1,349 crore it was before the notification issued on the online gaming. The comparison is of 6 months prior to the notification and 6 months after the notification. And the council decision was in October 23, if you'll recall. So similarly, for casinos, the revenue has increased by 30%, from 164.6 crores earlier to 214 crores. Again, a comparison of 6 months prior to the decision and 6 months after the decision. So the three statuses I've commented on. One is on the rate rationalization. The other is the real estate. The third is, after 6 months, I was expecting to have a status report submitted on the casinos and horse racing and online gaming. So that has been presented. Now, two new GOMs have been decided. One is on the medical and health insurance. It will be the rate rationalization GOM headed by the Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar, but with newer members added for this limited purpose. The rate rationalization GOM under the Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar will be doing its job, but under his leadership, with newer members who have volunteered for the limited purpose of medical health insurance related GST. We have told them that they will look into this matter and come with a report by end of October, just 1.5 months' time. And the GST Council, which will meet in November, will finalize based on this report, which will come from the GOM. So why did we have to refer that to the GOM? Medical insurance related. There was good discussion, but the details of the discussion made us feel that there is more to understand and more to take a decision on. For instance, many resident welfare associations have asked, what if they do a group insurance for the residents? What happens to group insurance of companies? What happens to senior citizens? What happens to life insurance as opposed to term insurance? There are also requests already in the Commission to deal with medical health related situations, mental health related to situations, not medical, mental health related situation also was a separate agenda, but that got clubbed to this. So the insurance related matters, the Council felt, because of the various dimensions which came in, which I've just narrated to you, it might be worth a group of ministers to very quickly look into it. And by end of October, if they came in with their suggestions, the November GST meeting could take a call on that. So a new GOM, which is essentially the same GOM as rate rationalization GOM, but for this limited purpose, newer members join in, and only for this limited purpose, they will submit a report before end of October. Another GOM is for, let me tell you a background for it. We had discussed about the compensation cess, and it was understood, and it is clearly till March 2026 is when we can collect the compensation cess, which is the extended compensation cess. The extended compensation cess is being collected to repay the back-to-back loans which were taken and also to service the interest on it. Now, earlier also it was indicated, but even now I would indicate probably by January 2026 itself, we will be clearing the back-to-back loan and the interest, and therefore till March, which is about 2 months of compensation cess, which would be left over. But compensation cess ends by March 2026. It's always been one of the points in the council to see what are we going to do with that cess collection, which was all the while meant for compensation giving. But after that, what is it that we want to do? About that, we have been saying we will certainly discuss. So today in the council, the position on compensation cess was very clearly put up, discussed. I'm just showing you a printout, but I'm sure the message will reach you all about what exactly was the situation. So the total cess collection, actual and projected up to March 2025, is 8,66,706 crores. And compensation paid till 5th September 2024 is minus 6,64,203. Back-to-back loan repayable is minus 269,208. So interest on it is about, back-to-back loan is about 51,561, which is negative. So excess compensation to be recovered is a certain amount, and the projected surplus, which I told you will be 2 months of collection, it will be in the range of 40,000 crores. I'm not giving you the exact number, but 40,000 crores is what would be the surplus after paying back the back-to-back and so on. So this was presented, and after that there was a lot of discussion. So we have agreed to form a GOM, which will now take it up to study every state and their discussion, because Karnataka minister came up with figures which are applicable to his state. So we've said all other states which want to give theirs, we're not compelling anybody, but whoever wants to give can give. And the group of secretaries and others would discuss about it. So they will be, again, a group of ministers who will decide how to go forward in the name of compensation cess. It shall no longer be compensation post March 2026, but that cess, how to go about it, what to do with it, and so on, will be discussed by the group of ministers. Then there is a committee of secretaries also decided today for the purpose of explaining and also deciding on how to take the IGST forward. A detailed discussion was held because today we have a negative balance on IGST. So in this regard, the council decided that to finalize the way forward, a committee under the chairmanship of the Additional Secretary Revenue will be set up with officers of both state and center. You know, now there is a lot of balance which has to be retrieved from states who had excess IGST given to them over the period. So to discuss that, there will be a committee of secretaries who will explain how this whole thing has worked. There was also this request again from Karnataka Finance Minister that the formulation, the modus operandi of IGST, how it works, how it is calculated, how it is used for deploying resources, may again be explained to whoever wants. There is no compulsion that everybody. Some ministers felt that they would want to understand it better. So Revenue Secretary would have an informal meeting as and when they want. Not in person. Whoever wants it, they can come on a video and talk to him to understand how IGST works. At the moment, the negative balance, which has to be retrieved from some of the states which have had excess payment done, will have to be done. But the committee of secretaries, committee of officers will decide on to take it forward as to how. And that will have officers both from the center and state. So these are the committees and some of the decisions which have been given to committees, some with a very limited time span. I again remind you, on the medical insurance, they'll have to come back by October. So on the, there was one more which they have to come back by October. IGST. On the IGST, the secretary, the committee of officers will have to come back. Then the council has today decided that funds given for research to state affiliated universities or universities which are which have come about with state laws, or universities which have come about with central laws, or those institutions which have obtained income tax exemption. So 3 categories. 1, universities and research centers which have been established by a law of the central government. 2, universities and research centers established by a law of the state governments, or those institutions which, as a 3rd category, those institutions which have obtained income tax exemption can receive research funds both from public, which is government, and from private, and they shall not pay GST. They are exempted from paying the GST. So these are some of the main decisions of the GST, but there are a few more which I request the Revenue Secretary and his team to explain, because there are very many more decisions. One of which I would highlight is reduction in the GST rates on specified cancer drugs. You will recall that in the budget we had cut down customs duties. Now, GST rate on cancer drugs are also being brought down. It's being reduced from 12% to 5% in order to further reduce the cost of cancer treatment. Then, also decision on namkeens, extruded, expanded savory food items. GST rate on these is being reduced prospectively, not retrospectively, prospectively from 18 to 12%. On metal scrap, reverse charge mechanism on supply of metal scrap from unregistered persons to unregistered person, provided that the supplier shall take registration as and when it crosses the threshold limit. In addition, a recipient who is liable to pay under the RCM shall pay tax even if supplier is under threshold. So largely, I have recalled some of the major decisions, but there are other decisions also which have been taken, which of course I'll invite the Revenue Secretary to elaborate on.
The other decisions which have been taken by the council are relating to exemption for the affiliation charges which are levied by the boards, whether of the center or of the state, for government schools. So this has been exempted. Other clarification that has been approved to be issued by the council relates to when an ancillary or intermediate services are provided by a GTA, a goods transport agency, in the course of transportation of goods by road, and the GTA also issues a consignment note. In such cases, the service will be treated as a composite service, composite supply, and all such ancillary intermediate services like loading, unloading, packing, unpacking, transshipment, warehousing, etc., will be treated as part of the composite supply, attracting the rate of supply for GTA. Then there was another decision which was taken to bring in renting of commercial property by unregistered persons to a registered person under RCM, under reverse charge mechanism. I may mention over here that already residential property, when it is rented by a registered person from an unregistered person, is already at RCM, under RCM, and so this anomaly has been corrected by this decision. Then there were decisions regarding clarification of place of supply relating to advertising services being provided by Indian companies to foreign entities. It has been clarified that the recipient, which is a foreign entity, will be the place of residence of that particular entity will be the place of supply, so it shall be exempt from GST. Similarly, place of supply for data hosting services provided by service providers located in India to cloud computing services located outside India has also been clarified to the extent that the recipient of this service, which again happens to be outside, shall be the place of recipient shall be the place of supply of this services. A clarification has also been decided to be issued for availability of input tax credit on demo vehicles by the dealers in case they have been bought by the dealers from the vehicle manufacturer. There was a confusion relating to this. So this has been decided to be clarified. Then the procedure and conditions for waiver of interest and penalty in respect of the earlier tax demands of the first 4 years. This was an earlier decision. So those conditions, the procedure thereof has been decided in this meeting today. It has also been decided to recommend, the council has also recommended to notify that the last date for this shall be 31/3/2025, and it shall be operative from 1st of November of this year. A mechanism has also been provided for implementation of the newly inserted subsections 5 and 6. You are aware that the input tax credit was allowed retrospectively with effect from 1/7/17 for the returns filed for the first 4 years till October 2021, and so a procedure for those cases has been prescribed. And similarly, amendments have been made in rules 89 and rule 96 to provide for a clarification that IGST refunds on exports, where some benefits of concessional or exemption notifications have been availed on the inputs on refund of IGST paid on exports. Two important matters relating to technology adoption were also approved by the council. One is to introduce B2C e-invoicing. You are all aware that we already have B2B in e-invoicing beyond a certain limit. I think more than 5 crore, more than 5 crore, more than 5 crore rupees of turnover. We have mandatory B2B e-invoicing, and so now we want to take it to B2C e-invoicing. This will actually facilitate the consumers by enabling them to check whether this invoice that has been issued is actually genuine or not. But this will be done on a voluntary basis to start with in selected sectors and states. So the law committee has been authorized to make amendments in rules and the law wherever necessary. Another update that was given to the council relates to the invoice management system and new ledger. You are aware that the GST actually works on input tax credit, and there are a lot of mismatches between the input tax credit on the one hand, and which is available, and under the various forms that we have, mismatches between GSTR 1A and the GSTR 3B, the return, and similarly between GSTR 2B and GSTR 3B on the credit side as well as on the liability side. This has led to a number of notices, sometimes in some of the years running into lakhs, which then causes inconvenience to the taxpayers on the one hand, and on the other hand is also a means for tax evasion by producing fake bills, because there is no mechanism to actually check them. So a whole new system has, part of which has already been introduced in the form of GSTR 1A, and part of which will be introduced from 1st October for the invoice management. This will also be, this update was presented to the council. And last of all, a few more rate, that is rate on car and motorcycle seats. Prospectively, it has been decided to increase the rate on car seats from 18 to 28%. It has been decided to clarify that roof-mounted package units, air conditioning machines for railways, that attracts 28% of tax. Similarly, it has been recommended to notify GST at the rate of 5% on transportation of passengers by helicopters on seat sharing basis, as is available also for air travel on economy class. It has been decided to clarify that PLC or preferential location charges paid along with the consideration for construction services, whether for residential, commercial or industrial, will be also a part of composite supply of construction services liable to tax at the same rate. And then decided to regularize some past period related to film distributor or sub-distributor when it acts on a principal basis to acquire and distribute films. Another important decision was taken to exempt import of services by an establishment of a foreign airlines company. There were some notices which were also reported in the media earlier from a related person or any of its establishments outside India when made without consideration. The council also recommended to regularize the past period on as is, where is basis. Thank you.
So floor is now open for the questions. 277. Please introduce yourself and then ask the question. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am. I am Priyashmita from Informist Media. Ma'am, you mentioned about the compensation cess, and you said that after the repayment, something around 40,000 crore is going to be left as surplus. Has there been any discussion on what to do with that 40,000? And if you can just give some clarity on what all is this GOM going to recommend in their report?
No, not yet finalized on that. The GOM will talk about it in detail from now on. Nothing has been particularly defined yet for them. No, nothing has been decided on that.
So let me clarify this 40,000 crore will be the excess in case the compensation cess is continued. But it will not be continued. It cannot be continued, you know, as per the act, because
Once
this
you
is,
pay back.
after you pay back, you cannot. So that's why, you know, before this excess actually happens, we have to come up with some other alternative in lieu of this
Not for
compensation.
compensation.
Not for compensation,
But
but
for
for
that.
something else.
16.
Ma'am, I am Monica from the New Indian Express. Ma'am, I need more clarity on this, on the decision on related party transaction. You said that import of services by these airlines will be exempt. So this decision wouldn't apply to other sectors like IT companies, shipping.
No, this is an issue which is very specific to to the airlines industry, because the airlines industry, our airlines, when they go abroad, they also get some similar concessions. So keeping that in light, this decision that has been taken is only with respect to the airline sector and not for any other sector.
But sir, what about other sectors? There is lot of confusion surrounding this this law around related party transactions. Will the council will be coming with more clarity on this?
Already, circular has already been issued in June 2024, whereby, you know, related party transactions, in case they are meant for providing goods other than goods and services, other than exempted services, then the valuation can be as is decided amongst them. So that has already been decided. Yes, there are some other issues. It's an ongoing exercise. They are under examination, and as and when the law committee and fitment committee have examined it, if there is a need, we will issue more clarifications as required.
107.
Ma'am, when the GST Council clarified the tax rate on online gaming, so there was some concern that it will kill the industry. But the data that you have provided is saying that 400% increase in the tax collection. So
That
means,
is only 6 months figure.
yeah, 6 months figure. So that means the industry and the players have accepted the new tax regime. So there is no going back on that decision.
Well, the council heard the facts, and that's where it was left. It was more a presentation of the current situation, because that was a promise given that after 6 months we'll review. And it is more than 6 months now, but we've given a picture.
266.
Ma'am, hello, this is Surbhi from Business Today. Ma'am, just wanted to understand the way forward on rate rationalization, because earlier the GOM had indicated that they would like to continue with the status quo on rates. So if you
Continue with?
the current rate structure, ma'am. So if you could give us a way forward on
No,
that.
I don't know from where that statement has come. The rate rationalization GOM is looking into the issue of rates, and also about the slabs, number of slabs. But the discussion will also have to happen from now onwards. The status report just said till now how many meetings happened, and that's where it is. Some recommendations of earlier were all just indicative, nothing more. It wasn't given in detail. But from now, when the meetings happen, they will talk in detail about all of this.
17.
मैम आलोक प्रियदर्शी फ्रॉम सीएनबीसी आवाज। मैम ऑनलाइन ट्रांजैक्शन पर, डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन पर जो जीएसटी लगाने का प्रपोजल था, उसको लेकर काफ़ी कहा गया था कि इसमें जो पूरा जो जीएसटी है वो 18% लगाया जाएगा। उसको लेकर अभी क्या फैसला हुआ है? जो कई सारे पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर्स हैं उसकी मांग कर रहे थे, उसे लेकर क्या फैसला हुआ?
You want to?
नहीं, देखिए आलोक जी, ये जो मुद्दा जो काउंसिल के समक्ष में था, वो केवल एक स्पष्टीकरण देने के लिए था कि जो एक पूर्व में एक अधिसूचना जो जारी की गई थी, वो अधिसूचना के तहत में उनको छूट का लाभ, टैक्स छूट का लाभ उनको मिलता है या नहीं मिलता है। तो वो जो छूट थी, वो इसके ऊपर में विचार काउंसिल ने प्रथम बार नहीं किया है, इससे पहले भी पूर्व में भी किया था। और उस समय भी यही स्पष्टीकरण दिया गया था कि यह जो छूट है ये छूट केवल बैंक्स के लिए है, लेकिन यदि कोई छूट देनी है उनको वो एक अलग मुद्दा है, और अगर इस प्रकार की छूट की कोई मांग आती है तो उसके ऊपर में पुनः से विचार, फिटमेंट कमेटी जो हमारी बनी हुई है वो उसके ऊपर में विचार करेगी और काउंसिल के समक्ष लाएगी। तो वो एक बिल्कुल अलग मुद्दा है कि उनको पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर को ये छूट देनी है या नहीं देनी है, इसके ऊपर में कोई चर्चा आज के दिन में काउंसिल की मीटिंग में नहीं हुई। मुद्दा आएगा तो उसके ऊपर में जो हमारी निर्धारित प्रक्रिया है उस प्रक्रिया के तहत में उसका परीक्षण करके और उसके ऊपर में एक उचित निर्णय काउंसिल लेगी।
77
मैम मैं शैलेश हूँ A9 न्यूज़ एजेंसी से। मैम जो हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस की बात हो रही है वो
किसकी?
हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस के लिए
हाँ।
जो जीओम बना है जो अक्टूबर में अपने रिपोर्ट देगी, उसमें हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस है या लाइफ इंश्योरेंस भी है, टर्म इंश्योरेंस भी है उसमें?
सब है, ग्रुप इंश्योरेंस है या रेसिडेंट वेलफेयर एसोसिएशन उनकी तरफ से कुछ करते हैं इंश्योरेंस के नाम पर, वो सब आइटम्स को ये ग्रुप ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स अध्ययन करके अक्टूबर तक मीटिंग रिकमेंडेशन देंगे।
थैंक यू।
7
Ma'am, good evening. Ma'am, my question is on the online gaming part. Were there any discussions held on the outstanding tax liabilities of the online gaming, especially the show cause notices that were issued to them?
There was no discussion on the old part. There was no discussion.
Sir, any roadmap on how will this be treated?
The matter is sub judice.
260
We await the decision of the courts.
There was one report on GOM on real estate also.
Please
So
introduce
what
yourself,
was, what was discussed, in the council?
No, they just gave a status report on what they've done.
Okay, that's it. No discussion. Okay, thank you.
95. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, ma'am. This is Sumit Chaturvedi, ET now. Did anything come as far as the electric vehicle charging stations and GST and or rate relief on them are concerned?
On the EV charging station, the matter was actually deferred. There was a recommendation, of course, from the fitment committee, but the council in its wisdom thought that this needs further this needs a re-examination. So as to whether this is actually an electricity supply or not, and what rate, if it is not an electricity supply, then what rate it should attract, the matter has been deferred for re-examination by the fitment.
मैं अनिल कुमार हूँ, स्वतंत्र पत्रकार हूँ। मैम मेरा सवाल यह है कि जिस केदारनाथ, बद्रीनाथ या फिर वैष्णो देवी के लिए जो हेलीकॉप्टर सेवाएं दी जाती है उसमें जो GST ली जाती है, क्या उस पर भी आज कोई डिस्कशन हुए?
नहीं हुई,
उसके ऊपर में नहीं हुआ, लेकिन जो सीट शेयरिंग पे अगर कोई लेता है जो हेलीकॉप्टर,
हेलीकॉप्टर में जाने वाले GST के ऊपर अभी बताया,
लेकिन वो बद्रीनाथ या केदारनाथ से स्पेसिफिक नहीं है, लेकिन अगर वो उसमें आता है तो वो उसको 5% दर लगेगी।
Good evening, ma'am. Sapna here. Ma'am, one broad question. Some of the states are indicating, when this compensation says.
Can you be louder, please?
Sorry. Some of the states are indicating when this compensation cess matter came up for discussion. So some of them are indicating that.
Spoke. Karnataka gave some numbers, which we've said, please submit it. We'll have our team looking into the number.
Ma'am, Meghna Mittal from Money Control. The Section 11A amendment that was introduced as a kind of a legal safeguard against retrospective tax demands, were the corresponding circulars against it, were they discussed today?
Section 11A, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, nothing was discussed regarding Section 11A. It is let me clarify. Lot of media attention has been given to Section 11A. This is not a usual section to be used. This is a section to be used in the rarest of the rare cases. So it is not to be used generally or as a practice, as a matter of practice for which we would like to, issue a circular at this point of time.
273.
मैम तरुण फ्रॉम जी बिजनेस। मैम क्या आज की मीटिंग में रियल एस्टेट सेक्टर स्पेशली एक कंसर्न था कि जब हम फ्लैट खरीदते हैं तो उसमें लैंड प्लस कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट होती है, तो जीएसटी जो है वो केवल कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट पे लगना चाहिए, तो उस पर कोई आज डिस्कशन हुआ, कुछ क्लैरिटी उस पर?
But on the
हाँ, उस पर डिस्कशन हुआ, लेकिन केवल जैसा आपने कहा कि वो जो है केवल कंस्ट्रक्शन सर्विस पे लगनी चाहिए, वो आज के दिन में भी यही स्थिति है कि कंस्ट्रक्शन सर्विस पे ही लगती है। लेकिन उसको कंस्ट्रक्शन सर्विस पे लगाने के लिए चूंकि फ्लैट की रेट में लैंड की भी वैल्यू होती है, तो उसको एक डीम्ड 1/3 जो है वैल्यू लैंड को एट्रीब्यूट की जाती है और उसको हटा करके उसके बाद में किया जाता है। तो ये एक सोचा गया था कि ये हर केस में 1/3 जरूरी नहीं है हो, कहीं पे लैंड की कॉस्ट ज़्यादा हो सकती है, कहीं पे लैंड की कॉस्ट कम हो सकती है। तो उसके विषय के ऊपर में चर्चा हुई थी और अंत में निर्णय ये लिया गया कि जो रियल एस्टेट का जीओएम है वो इसका परीक्षण करेगा और परीक्षण करके अपना सिफारिश काउंसिल के समक्ष रखेगा।
39.
Hello, ma'am. Harsh Kumar, this is from Business Standard newspaper. So, ma'am, what states actually suggested on insurance, GST on insurance later?
No, actually speaking on insurance, there were a lot of discussion about which one is going to be taken up. Will we reduce the rate or will we exempt it? For who should be exempt and who should not? What happens to group insurance? Then are we going to then carve out only for senior citizens? Will this not complicate the implementation? And therefore, a lot of these issues were brought up for further discussion. And that's where we thought it's better that this goes through a rigorous looking into by the GOM and then they come forward. Because these aspects were differently talked and the question was raised on that.
Ma'am, any specific numbers?
What numbers? Oh, no.
3.
Ma'am, Siddharth from Times of India. I have a couple of questions. One is, ma'am, what is the, did the council discuss the future of cess in the sense that will it continue or not continue after from 1st of April 2026? Number one. Number two, on that research part, will the clarification apply prospectively or retrospectively? Whether it will start from 2017 itself. And the third question is, you talked about IGST excess payment. What is the extent of excess payment?
1 minute. Your first one was on compensation.
Compensation.
And the second one was on the research. Okay, the compensation cess. I would like to say this for the benefit of many of you who repeatedly have heard me say this, but I want you and myself to have some clarity even as I talk. Even at the time when the compensation cess was extended, after due consultation with the Attorney General then and also in the council several times, it was extended only because we had money to be paid to the states through the back-to-back loan, and that was back-to-back for the sake of giving compensation which we could not collect because of COVID. So, since that compensation was strictly since that cess was strictly for collection of compensation related monies, it was calculated as to what is the total amount which has been borrowed for the back-to-back and the interest which is due. And it was extended clearly, legally also, only to such an extent that you have to pay the back-to-back loan. And that is why I remember the first question, sorry, I forget your name, Pratyusha? Priya. Although we said extended till March 26, if the payment gets cleared by December or January of 25, December 25 or January 26, post that strictly you can't be collecting the compensation cess. The constituting of GOM to talk about the compensation cess's future, because beyond paying this backlog loan, which is the back-to-back loan and the interest for it, there cannot be a collection of cess for the compensation or compensation related purposes, because that particular compensation cess was purely for those first 5 years when you had to pay the states the gap between the protected and actual revenue. That saga ends with June 30th, 2022. But because it had to be paid through borrowed money, legally, after consultation, we have extended this compensation cess to such a time that we can pay this back, and at that time, tentatively till 31st March 2026. Now, if we pay that back by, let us say, January 2025, strictly, this cess no longer can be called compensation cess. Clear till then? Now, after that, if the cess has to be collected, it can't be compensation cess, but if it has to be collected, what? How do we do it? For what we do it? What rate at which we collect? What happens to the cess? That is what the GOM is going to talk about. Anything else on it?
45.
No, wait a minute. He had asked 3 questions. I've finished 1. The second, on the research, I just want to give you a bit of a detail. And this is research-related funds going to the institutions, and a notice which had gone to 7 such institutions was not an attempt at tax terrorism, was not an excess. I say this with a certain responsibility, because where there are interpretation-related issues, an officer in the field will certainly want to be sure that he's doing his job, he is collecting the money that he should collect, because some of these research funds which have gone to some institutions had a component that there could be some kind of a quid pro quo. And therefore the officer had to, and they are not one officer, one jurisdiction, they are different officers, different jurisdiction, all acting per the law before him. There are 7 such institutions to which the notice went. Therefore, this came up for discussion in this scale, a lot of outpouring, naturally. Now, before I went to the GST Council, in some occasion where I met the Honorable Prime Minister, he himself told me, अरे बजट में आप अनुसंधान कोष करते हो, आपने रिसर्च के लिए नेशनल रिसर्च फंड करते हो, रिसर्च के लिए फंड अलॉट करके इंस्टीट्यूशंस को देते हो, उसमें जीएसटी का क्या विषय बन गया? You should propose to the council that there should not be tax on research funds. So after much discussion in the council, I repeat, after much discussion in the council, I volunteered and said, look, I'd like to propose something for the consideration of the council. And वो ये बात है कि सिर्फ गवर्नमेंट फंड तक सीमित नहीं, any fund coming even from a private and going to a private university as well, so long as they are established per law of the state or of the center, we should exempt it all. Quid pro quo, no quid pro quo for public cause or for no established public cause. In the sense, research goes to a university and they do it for larger public good. Or research fund goes to a university, maybe at the end of it they'll have a patent. Maybe at the end of it they will give you climate resistant seed varieties. This fund shall not be bearing the GST burden. After that, if the seed or the patent or whatever is commercialized and through that some money can be collected, that's a different story. So ये बहुत चर्चा के बाद, when I said this, I'm grateful to every member of the council, each one. And the first voice I heard from my left was of a lady, and that turned out to be West Bengal's finance minister. She said, I support this. And then so on, many other states also joined, and there was complete unanimity on this proposal which I put forward. I'm grateful to all members. So the decision on the research fund is that there can be a state law or a research institution which could have obtained income tax exemption. Fund going to any one of these from the government or from private, quid pro quo or no, will be exempt. No, not retrospective, because they will get regularized
it will
for
be
the
regularized
seventh.
on as various basis was the decision of the council to regularize.
Regularized it. As
If
well
people have paid, they have paid. If they have not,
paid.
then we'll give them the benefit.
And there are only 7 such notices which have gone. That will be assessed by the team and it will get regularized. IGST excess payment. Do you want to?
No. So the point is that there is a deficit. There is not an excess. There is a deficit today. That deficit amount is about 14,000 crore rupees. So in certain periods there was a surplus. The net surplus is about 1,65,000 crore or so, which has been paid to the states as well as to the center. So 50% is a portion to the center, 50% is to the states, and there is a formula on the basis of which we apportion it amongst the states. So that is excess is surplus is 165,000 crore roughly, but now we have a deficit of 14,000 crore. 7,000 crore will be borne by the center, 7,000 crore will be borne by the states. So previously there was a formula, but now that formula has become dated. So we want to update that formula now with passage of time. So how that formula should look like, a committee of officers headed by the additional secretary will look at.
I think this is the last question. I have 45 first, then 70.
Rishabh Bhatnagar with NDTV Profit. I'd just like to ask on the B2C e-voicing bit, some more details on that, and also some clarity on economy class air travel, if there are reductions on that, and the ACs for railways. I think there's some reduction on that as well.
What reduction?
So AC on railways, there is no reduction. The rate was 28%. There was a confusion because ACs attract 28%, railway parts attract 18%. And so there was this doubt, but the railways parts, the ACs are not, included as railway parts. So that is being clarified to be 28%. Regarding economy class, there was no decision. I only mentioned economy class airfare to equate helicopter services when they are availed on seat sharing basis, like for religious purposes, Kedarnath, etc., for example, but could be any purpose. So there is that 5% GST is being clarified. That was already 5%. It's only being clarified. It's being exempted prospectively because the doubt was there. So a separate entry is being created, and past period will be on as is various basis. So that would be regularized. And the third part you mentioned is about B2C invoicing.
That's only a pilot project.
So you want to the B2E e-invoicing, basically, see, as I mentioned, what will happen is that the suppliers initially on a voluntary basis, we will give them a portal, we will give them a site, they can use the services of the portal like they use for B2B. And then the invoices can be issued to the customers through that portal. So what happens then is that the customer can actually verify it, or the other design e-invoice, and then they upload it to our portal in a real-time basis so that the customer can actually verify as to whether this invoice has actually been issued or not. And once, this is issued from the system, it gets reported, obviously, it will get filled into their returns. So the tax will have to be actually paid on these e-invoices, like, on B2B. So other than empowering the consumer, the customer, it will also help us in providing refunds. Once, we implement this, we test this. Foreign tourists, when they buy goods over here and when they take them back, it's an export of that particular goods. But we are unable to do so because we are, of course, able to verify that this good is going out. But whether that good was actually bought in our country and tax was paid in our country or not, we are not in a position to verify that. So with this system, the customs authorities at the airports will be able to verify as to whether these goods, which are now being taken back to their own country, whether they have actually been bought in our country or not and eligible for a refund or not. So these are some of the benefits of e-invoicing. Other than this, benefits of tax evasion, it will also help in reduction in tax evasion.
Last question 17.
मैम एक छोटा सा क्लैरिफिकेशन है, जो पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर्स का मुद्दा जो जीएसटी का है वो आपने फिटमेंट कमेटी में भेज दिया है, लेकिन जो उन पे जीएसटी सर्व किया गया है 600 करोड़ रुपए के आसपास का, वो अभी स्टिल वैलिड है या उसको अभी उसकी क्या स्टेटस है अभी?
वो नोटिस जो है लगभग 5 अगस्त के आसपास में दिए गए हैं, तो अभी वो नोटिस का वो पीरियड होता है, उसमें अभी वो नोटिस को जवाब देंगे, जो कंपनियां हैं वो उसका जवाब देंगे और वो उसको जवाब को ध्यान में रखते हुए और उसके ऊपर में ऑर्डर पास किया जाए.
One last point, which is one interesting point for you all. Back again, many of the states were requesting if GST Council meetings could be held in their states. Kerala has been waiting for last 2-3 years. They repeated their request. Today, interestingly, many other states also joined in this list. I had Meghalaya Chief Minister suggesting that we should go to Meghalaya for a council meeting. So was Gujarat, so was Uttar Pradesh, so was Bihar, and many other, Telangana, and many other states also have offered. So it could be that the council will take a call where they want to hold the next GST meeting, and from then they will be moving around to different states so that states also feel that they've hosted the GST.
This is also
of course you will come. You will come to cover, won't you?
So they are making the request.
Yes, sure. Good, we do it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.